What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Jaden. I am the owner and founder at Featured Creatures. Today we're going to be going over something that I just started. Just started to mass produce or really getting ready to. And that is these guys right here. So this is a rat rack. But you guys can know, or you guys know by the title, that we're talking about mealworms as well as superworms today. So let's go over some of the things about them. All right, guys. So this is my mealworm / superworm rack. Now, you guys are going to be watching me through the journeys of kind of just going through this whole process about the different tubs that we're going to get after this. I kind of just already had this rack. Was originally a rat rack, so you can like put food items up here. You could put the food for the rats to reach through. They would live in the bins like this. They would reach right through up there, reach for the food, and then you put either like water nipples in there so they can drink from it. Let's see if you guys can see that. So they like put water nipples through here so then they can drink through it, or just a water bottle would come through and it would be like this high. Then they would just drink from that. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the mealworms. So basically I just converted this, didn't have to do much else to it, but I just converted this to a superworm and mealworm kind of breeding tank facility for the business. Also working on hornworms, so get ready for some of those videos too. But here's some of the mealworms that we're doing. So in these tubs, they don't climb smooth surfaces like that. But we have our mealworms in here. We bought 20,000. So I mean, in here, if I were to just flip over a lot, that's right in there. We have 20,000 mealworms. A good thing about the mealworms is that they automatically will pupate versus like the superworms don't. So I have to put them in cups like that on top. So I found a reason to kind of use that space on top. But in here, so I'm going to be ordering around 40,000 more 40,000 more mealworms, because I'm going to be using them up here, 20,000 up there, 20,000 down there, and these bottom two are going to be for the superworms. But let's go over breeding mealworms. So mealworms start off as eggs, of course. The beetles lay the eggs. Then once the eggs hatch, over the span of like a couple weeks, like I'd say like 4 to 6 weeks, they're really just going to grow and eat. The food that I use to feed them is mainly just wheat bran. So, sorry, you guys can go to like your local feed store and buy a bag of wheat bran for like 12 bucks or so. I think it's like a 50-pound bag. Like, there's a lot of heat that's radiating underneath this. But you can buy wheat bran, just have them live in this. And they're going to constantly eat the wheat bran and break that down, as well as like the other stuff that we throw in there for a lot of the water supplements and stuff like that is going to be potatoes. So at our local store, once the potatoes get ready, like they're growing sprouts and stuff, they put like a full bag for 60 cents. So for us, that's extremely cheap. We wash them, we put them in here, and then they're doing really well. So as you guys can see, outside of the ones that they already ate, they love being within, you guys can see that, they love being within the potato. Even though they just ate this one, they're finishing up this one. You guys can see little bits and pieces in there. Now, these guys, after a couple weeks, like I said, once they get to full size, they will automatically pupate, which just means we do not have to separate them like you will superworms for them to start pupating into beetles. But we do have sifters and masks for when we actually do work with them. Instead of just touching them all like this, we have gloves. I'm only doing this for the video, but we normally have gloves and stuff like that for them to go into. Besides for the wheat bran, like I said, another thing that you can use outside of potatoes would be carrots. And you can kind of use any many non-acidic foods. So like squash, potatoes, carrots. You can do pumpkins if you want to, watermelon. You guys have probably seen a bunch of those videos of mealworms eating, kind of just eating random things, and they break it down over like a time lapse. This is like what you're looking at. Those are mealworms. Mealworms are superworms, but these guys do a fantastic job at breaking a lot of stuff down. Now the frass and stuff that we use after this, we're going to be using in our garden. So we're going to be growing a lot of plants from it. So a lot of the potatoes, everything that breaks down, and the wheat bran, after we sort them out, is going to be going straight into our garden. So our plants are going to be having a lot of nutrients to be able to grow from. Now, the difference between these and superworms, after they let's say, spread them back out. After they pupate, we have to spread that out. I gotta take these out after the video, but after they pupate, they're gonna turn into beetles, little darkling beetles, or I forgot what they're basically darkling, they are darkling beetles. So they're gonna turn into beetles, and then they're gonna start laying eggs from there. We have a sifter to where they're gonna sift out the ones that are pupating, and then we're gonna go ahead and put those on a tray, and that tray is going to be, we don't have one right now. We used to use these, so this is like where some of our superworms are. So I made a video on these before. Now that we're mass breeding, these are where like our superworm pupa are. We're starting off small, but we are doing all of these ourselves. Now we're gonna be switching these over to those racks soon. Now, if you guys, I will do another video on these guys soon, on the trays themselves. I loved using them. As you can see, we used a bunch. I'm right there and there, but they're not for practical use when you're mass breeding to the scale that we want to breed as a business. So that's why we're starting to use tubs and stuff like this. Plus, I already had the rat rack. Bought it a couple years ago. I bought 2 of them, sold one of them with the rats that were in it, and never used this one. I'm just dust collected in it. But overall, the superworms is what you guys see up here. These have to be individualized or individually put inside a cup with an air hole, because they will not pupate, or they will not pupate if they're all together. So we have 500 between this. Andrea, my wife, she's the one who put all of these together inside of there. I was the one using tackle boxes before, but we really focused on our mealworms first. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna turn into that, so that one right there, and they're gonna turn into a little circle like that. And then from the little circle, you see I separated a couple. This one actually just did it within the hour. So I'm gonna leave it alone just to not knock it out of the cycle, and probably give it another day or 2, and then I'll put it into here. But those, after a couple days, or after like a week or so, are what turn into the pupa that's over there. So that's like the full cycle of this, basically of mealworms as well as superworms. The only difference is you have to separate the superworms this way. You don't have to do it for the mealworms. It's a lot easier to breed the mealworms. But to do the superworms, you have to separate them. So we have this little system here. They have to be, if you're gonna breed mealworms or to kind of turn them into pupa, what I'm gonna do is really just grab a box, kind of like one of our shipping boxes. I don't even know if they fit, but I can just find a cardboard box. And then what I'm gonna do from there is literally just put that on the top of here. The reason I'm gonna do that is because the superworms, the best time for them to breed is when it's dark and they're stressed. That's why in each and every one of these, we don't really have food, just a sprinkle of when we were transferring them, or whatever they're holding on to and stuff like that, but we don't put food in there. As well as we don't put any water in there. We just let them stress themselves out with no food and water. And that's kind of, if you grab the ones that are as big as you see within the, we bought like a 4,000 pack, so we kind of really got to pick and choose which ones were ready. So hopefully have a really good success rate, at least of like 85 to 90% success rate of this converting over. But over a couple weeks, once these guys start really stressing out, they're gonna ball up like the other ones that you saw over there. And then once they ball up, then they're gonna turn into pupa. Once they turn into pupa, you have to give them a few weeks and they'll turn into beetles. And when they turn into beetles, you can do the same thing here. Just put a bunch of wheat bran, put the beetles on top. But you do want to make sure that you have a sifter for it, because the beetles that you put on top, you're gonna have to sift them out from the eggs later on and let the eggs just grow within the wheat bran that's left. So basically, overall, when it comes to breeding superworms and mealworms, this is our new setup. We are going to be advancing a lot into this project, or expanding a lot into this department of ours, but investing a lot of money into it, because we're going to be buying, like I said, just for this rack alone, another 40,000, 20,000 here, 20,000 there. I do like these being in the same room as like our roaches. We do have more roaches, but even our isopods, because the ambient heat keeps the temperature nice in here for these guys to breed real well. So it doesn't get cold, especially here in Chicago in the winter. It keeps it nice and hot. Up there we have our springtails, but then our roaches. I don't have to do, especially when we're in the attic and the heat rises, I don't have to put the temperature up a lot at all, because these guys, if you were to just feel what it feels like underneath, you would feel all the heat that's radiating off just these 20,000. So to have these in the same room with our dubias and just the rest of our roaches is definitely a benefit. It's a plus to it all. That's what we love. That's why we love having them in here. But basically, when it comes to breeding them, I can post a full mealworm guide on breeding them, time span, and all that. We have one of those already made. I can post it again onto our Facebook page if you guys want, right at Featured Creatures. Definitely go check us out. Or North American isopods and inverts. I'd love to post all the different videos there. But like I said, guys, if you want to do mealworms, the only difference between them, or superworms, the only difference between them and mealworms is the fact that you have to separate these guys. But they are basically the same species, just two different sizes. The care for them is practically the same. They eat the same food. Everything's the same besides for this. So if you guys have any questions on anything else, like how to turn them or anything like that, and I didn't explain it well or you just didn't understand it in the video, I definitely feel free to comment. I'd love to answer your question in depth, more in the comments. But in here, like I said, these are just 1 ounce cups with a little hole in it, no food or anything like that. And I'm just gonna be putting cardboard over it so it's dark. So once it's dark and they stress out, you probably have seen some turn into beetles within your enclosure. Like I've seen it in my bearded dragon enclosure with it being bioactive. They tend to do that a lot. So that's basically what I'm just mimicking. They go in the soil, it's dark, no food for them or anything, so they just turn into beetles and then start looking for food. So that's basically what I'm recreating here with all 500 of these. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me in the comments, or reach out to me on my Facebook page at Featured Creatures. But until then, can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Peace!